you're gonna like this one.
Hi, Mr. Carney. Mackenzie Gray with Global News. Do you want house prices to go down in Canada?
I want house prices to be more affordable for Canadians. And let me explain that.
In other words, go down.
It means a number of things. One, in the very short term, it means getting specific costs out of the price. So for new home buyers, as many people know, and I want everybody to know this, cutting GST on homes, new homes, and ensuring that particularly younger Canadians get the benefit from that. So that's the first thing. The second thing we want is to strip out, and we will do, put in place measures so to strip out, in fact, half the development charges for construction on homes. So again, another measure that in the near term will lower the cost of new term homes, and those lower costs should be passed on to home buyers. The third thing we think needs to happen, and we'll do at scale, is to help develop a much more efficient home building industry in Canada.
What do you think that is?
Modular fabricated homes that Mark Carney investment group has a $5 billion investment in. Just throwing it out there. I don't know. Just came to my mind. Just a totally random thought.
There's no way. There's no way that's what he meant. No way. Prefab homes. No.
Yeah, and he's in a blind trust, so we can't ask. Yes, as Robin says, modular homes.
As Sylvie says, tiny homes.
Tiny homes. It's and how coincidental that he's got a $5 billion investment in companies that make those. But you can't ask him that because it's in a blind trust. And you'll have to look inside yourself, Rosemary.
I was just going to say, Robbie, stop it. Look within yourself.
Look inside yourself, Rosemary.
But look at him becoming very snippy when he I love this part. It's my favorite part because the reporter challenges him, and look at him again. King Carney is not a big fan of being questioned, and here we are.
I just want to figure out where you are because I didn't hear yes or no there. We did hear yes or no from Gregor Robertson, though. He said no.
Affordable housing. Delivering that. Need to go down. No, I think that we need to deliver more supply, make sure the market is stable. It's a huge part of our economy. We need to be delivering more affordable housing. The government of Canada has not been building affordable housing since the 90s, and we've created a huge shortage across Canada. That's where the big need is right now, and I'm very encouraged that the Prime Minister and our commitment right now in government is to double construction and focus on the affordable side.
So where do you stand on that?
Well, it's not first off, it's not a yes/no question.
Oh, really?
It's not a yes/no
really
question.
Is.
It was for him.
No,
well,
I'm answering the questions right now. If I can.
This guy.
Because it's a question which relates to different time horizons and it relates to different houses. So we are cutting GST on new homes. Okay. So that affects the price of new homes. That affects the cost is a better way to put it. The all-in cost for people. It's up to $50,000 savings on the average home price. A little more than that, actually, if you look at the greater Toronto area. So there's significant savings for people. Measures to reduce development charges over the course of the next 5 years, cut those development charges in half. Those lower the cost for those homes that are built over the course of the next 5 years. Those savings will be passed on to people.
What about the existing houses? That is the major part of the housing market. What about those houses? Do they not get anything? Those don't count. Like no mention of immigration either. No mention of anything that matters. Just you know what? We're gonna cut the GST $50,000. Oh yeah, awesome. Most of the places are above 500 grand. That's it.
Yeah,
that's what you got. This is what's going to make it more affordable for people is that GST. Really? That's it? That's all you got? Like, he's not addressing the problem at all. He's like,
100%.
He's doing the Carney.
He's doing the dance.
He's being a Carney.
He's doing the dance.
He's giving us a show.
Yeah, you're right. And he's trying to thread a needle that is essentially impossible to thread, where if you'll notice, he will never say we want to lower housing prices. He'll say something like, we want to make it more affordable. But the fact of the matter is he's trying to somehow make housing prices more affordable while keeping housing prices high in order to protect the wealth of the boomers, right? That's what he wants to do. And okay, if that's that's your prerogative if you're the government and you just decide, okay, we're going to benefit this constituency over this one. That's fine, but just be open about it. But at the end of the day, there's no way you can make housing more affordable unless you bring prices down, or at least put policies in place which will bring prices down. And you're just going to have to say it. You just or you can just do this little dance here that he's doing that might sound good. Nothing ever changes, because it's not just about the GST. It's about flat out housing prices. Like you said, what's the average price? $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. Yeah, you can take away the GST, but that's still a $700,000 house. So there's just no way that you can solve this crisis without reducing the overall price of housing. And that's an unpopular thing to say politically, especially for a guy who was just elected on the, primarily by the boomer vote, who is mostly the people who own houses in Canada. So, it's again, on the one hand, it's a tricky place to be in, but you just kind of got to stop doing the dance and just say one way or the other, no, we're going to keep housing prices high in order to protect the wealth of homeowners. That's a policy. I probably wouldn't agree with it, or I definitely wouldn't, but that's at least a policy. That's his prerogative. But this trying to straddle the line here in a way that is impossible. It's just, it's kind of what we rail against all the time here, is this politics as usual, politicians politicking.
Yep.
And I don't, hopefully people see through it, but one way or the other, you got to shit or get off the pot on housing. You have to lower prices or keep them high. Those are your only options. You can't be like, oh no, we'll keep prices high, but affordability will become more affordable. That's a nonsensical thing to say.
Wait, I'm happy you said that, because he does mention it. Listen to this.
The overall level of housing prices, though, is not so that amount of activity is not enough necessarily to affect the overall level of house price. It does affect those types of homes and people who can buy those types of homes. Once we increase as a country the rate of home building, then that is going to make home prices much lower than they otherwise would be. But that's a medium-term effect. And so that depends where house prices would have otherwise been at that point. So look, the economy, it'd be lovely if we could always give very simple yes/no questions, up/down question answers to economy. But we're talking about time horizons. What the core issue is, the core issue for younger Canadians, for all Canadians, is that the level of house prices goes down relative to their incomes. So the affordability goes up for them. And both in the medium term and the longer term, that's what we're looking to do. Thank you.
He said fucking nothing.
I was just gonna say
nothing. And you know what?
A whole lot of words to say nothing.
I'm fucking reading his book right now, and he knows what he's talking about in his book. Like, he's playing dumb right now. He is just like, with his
No,
hands.
I was watching that, and I'm like,
the wind is
good.
the wind is coming. I don't know. He's very good, because he's brilliant. I'm
good.
telling you, it's scary how smart that guy is. He knows what he's doing, and he wants Marxist policies. Like, we will, from now on, we have rebaptized Mark Carney to Mark's Carney, because this is exactly what he is. This is what he believes in, and all that spill he just gave us is he's acting dumb, but he ain't dumb. This ain't Justin Trudeau we're seeing here. Justin Trudeau was dumb. He did not know what the fuck he was talking about unless somebody told him. He was the equivalent of Kamala Harris in the US. That dude is not Justin Trudeau. That dude is smart. He knows what he's doing. He's playing the crowd, and those people that voted for him are believing this shit, but he said nothing. And as PB in Alberta said, you're absolutely right. This is his plan. They'll own it, and you'll have nothing. This is exactly what Carney. You will have to be happy, but unfortunately, you're going to have to be happy on the bugs. I believe that we are by far the most expensive in the G7, if not the most expensive in the G20 when it comes to housing price. And don't forget the GDP fact, or the GDP sheet that we've literally showed every day during election time, where unlike the US, we grew over the past 10 years, our GDP grew 1%. The US grew something between 19 to 21%. So 20 times what Canadian GDP has grown. And our housing market is more expensive than in the US. It's insane. Like, there is no way people out of school that just got a job can afford a house. And I believe, like, there was a comment about this, and I'm pretty sure it's bang on. PB in Alberta saying that Gregor Robertson, which was the mayor of Vancouver, said that somebody needed 250 grand to get an entry level into home buying. So you need to make 250 grand a year. That's the salary that you need in order to get into the market of buying. We're not talking even a house here. We're probably talking a condo and you're in the basement. All to say, you need to make 250 grand in order to get into the housing market. That's insane. Absolutely insane.
Yep. That's
when the average salary is around $60,000 in Canada, give or take.
Well, it's kind of like, like if the GDP per capita had gone up as well as the housing price, it wouldn't be that big of an issue, right? Because we'd be able to in a better position to afford it. The reason it's a crisis is because the price of housing has gone up, but GDP per capita, which means people are not making as much, they're making the same. And that's why it's a crisis. Sylvie says here, Rob, we don't have a housing crisis, we have an immigration crisis. Yeah, I mean, you can't separate the two issues.
Ding. You're absolutely right. We're bringing in more people than we build houses.
Yeah, it's
no question about it. We bring more than 1 million people a year, and we build like 250,000 new houses
have to live
a year.
somewhere.
Like, what the fuck do you expect? Winner, chicken dinner, Sylvie wins.
And I've heard people say things like, well, what does the federal government have to do with housing prices? They can't just pick and choose. Well, no. But policies elsewhere, either in the housing market space or, as Sylvie says, in immigration, absolutely does factor in. It's simple supply and demand. If you're bringing in 1 million bodies, they have to be housed, but you're only building 250,000 new homes. Do the math, right? So demand will go up while supply does not match it. And that's just basic market economics, which means prices will go up.
But look within yourself, Robbie. Look within yourself.
Look within yourself.
Look inside yourself, Rosemary.
Invest in Brookfield. They're about to make a bunch of money. And that's funny, but I mean, in some ways, that's the way to make the way the system work for you. If you know it's broken and you know which direction it's broken in, just invest in that. And you can at least piggyback onto the corruption, right?
There's two things you should do. You should invest in Brookfield and you should follow Nancy Pelosi's investments. If you want to make money, fuck the S&P 500, invest in whatever Pelosi's buying and invest in Brookfield. That's brilliant right there. You will make money.